Hello and welcome to Complete with DLC, the only show that's getting a 5.6 from IGN. I'm one of your hosts, Brad Knight, and sitting across from me is the sad face, Jacob Griffin. Jacob, you're a sad face again. What are you doing?
I just, because I'm in my room right now because it's like the only cool place in the house. And so, because I had an AC on before we recorded this, but I just turned it off to record. So when I'm up here, I have this really tiny table that I have to use, and my computer is basically right on top of the mic, and it makes like a really terrible noise come through the mic, and I don't want to do that.
Ah.
So I have to put it on the side of me, and then that's not good for a camera angle.
And Jacob, the aspiring film director, wants the top quality videos for our archives. He will settle for nothing less.
I at least want it to look somewhat, presentable. To where if somebody looked at it, they wouldn't go, these are two amateur assholes in their bedroom doing this.
Well, I wouldn't want to lie to our good friends, the listeners now. Really, what are we, Jacob?
It's not a lie, it's just like a presenting yourself in a better light.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So what have you been up to, Jacob? What have you been up to since the last show?
I had a pretty boring weekend until Sunday where I did something I haven't done since I was 13. And I pulled a double feature at a movie theater.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done that.
It was an interesting experience to do it as an adult. First in the morning I went to go see the Lonely Island movie Pop Star Never Stop Never Stopping.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was hilarious. It was I think the funniest movie I saw all year. I don't know if anything could really top it at this point, because I don't know what's on the horizon for comedies. The only comedy I know that's still coming out this year is Boo! A Medea's Halloween. So I don't know if that could come up to the levels of this movie, but I thought it was really funny. And then later that night I went and saw Warcraft because you had texted me the day before and said that you really liked it. So I was like, all right, I'll check it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had saw it and I did think it was very good. Well, not very good. I thought it was much better than I expected it to be going in.
Yeah. And so, me and Brad have had sort of similar tastes in movies before, so I was like, all right, yeah, I'll go check it out. Because, the movies that you like, most of the time I like too. So, I went into it, and I said it was, really, weirdly, paced in a way. And, kind of, boring, if that's, makes sense. I've had more days to think about it. When I came out of it, I really was I don't like this movie. And as I've thought about it more, it's it's not that bad of a movie, but it's just maybe it wasn't the best it could have been. I thought it was just weirdly paced because it feels for the first 45 minutes, nothing happens in it. It's a lot of people talking about what's going on. It's these orcs coming through a portal, and then just then after that, there's an ambush thing, then nothing happens for a little while after that, and then there's a big battle. And
if nothing else, they need a better director, I think. I will say that. They could definitely use a better hand guiding them.
See, I don't even think the directing was bad in it. It was just it felt like maybe there was some studio interference of we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to set this up. Because the guy who directed it is Duncan Jones, and Duncan Jones is a huge Warcraft fan. He said it in many interviews. He used to play the games all the time, when he was younger.
Mm.
And so you can tell he has a grasp on this lore because do you think is this based more on the Warcraft games, or do you think it's more based on World of Warcraft?
No, this is entirely based on Warcraft. It has nothing to do with World of Warcraft.
Because I've only really played World of Warcraft, so
you would have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I was so confused going on, and I can only imagine I had an inkling of some stuff that was happening, but I can only imagine a general audience member just walking into this movie.
Well, yeah, it'd be a lot of. This movie did a good job of setting things up for you if you went in with a blank mind, because other than there are some slight lore changes that they made, Khadgar was originally Medivh's apprentice in the games, but he's not in the movies. He's just another guardian from a different area. And Garona is half orc, half Draenei, but they never really specified what our other half is in the movie. They sort of hint that it's human, but they sort of left it open-ended. But
yeah,
for the most part, this step stuck. I can't speak. It stuck pretty close to the games and what it was doing. So if you went in with a completely blank mind, you could leave with a slight inkling of what everybody was and where they were doing. Other than the fact that some of the tribes seem to have disappeared or they got fused, which is going to come into a problem later if they can decide to continue this.
And I just thought the final fight scene was a real bleh on the way it ends. Like, it's like this huge battle is happening, and then all of a sudden it's just like one thing happens, and then it's just over. That's the end of the movie. And like when it happened, I was like, all right, so are we going to start up the second round of fighting now, or...
You talking about that duel?
Yes. Which you see in the commercials, which I think is a real shitty thing, that like the final like shot of... Well, not really the final shot, but like the kind of final shot of your movie is just like, here it is in the commercial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they pulled a, Dawn of Justice on us.
They pulled a Amazing Spider-Man 2
Yeah.
when like at the end with the rhino thing. That was like at the end of every single commercial.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like overall, it's like it's not the worst movie. If I'd say even if you're a Warcraft fan, like honestly, like wait till DVD for it, because like when I was watching it on the big screen, like I would just notice like the CGI wasn't terrible, but the problem is that like everything is CGI, like even the rooms that they're in. So like the human characters are really poorly green screened into it, and I just like I noticed everything was like CGI like into it, but like I guess I didn't have that much of a problem with it, other than the fact that like every time I looked at a human character, I was like, you're in a big blue room right now, you're not like on location filming this.
Yeah, see, that stuff never bugs me. It's part of the reason why I don't mind any of the Star Wars movies. Is when I'm watching a movie, I don't look for CGI, I don't notice CGI, I don't look for green screens or any of that, and it's not the way I sort of look at movies. It's sort of, I don't know if it's a habit I've developed or just something I've never done. I don't know, but something the way I watch movies.
It's just something that pulls me out of it sometimes. Like, if it's poorly done, right? Like, if it's a good green screen, like, then it's whatever. It's like, oh, so this guy is in this room because it looks like he is. But, like, if I can tell that, like, something looks, like, incredibly fake behind somebody, then it pulls me out of the movie.
Yeah. I mean...
Like, Mad Max Fury Road is a great example of this. Like, they do a lot of stuff in the environment to add in like mountainous regions and stuff, right? But like if you didn't see the VFX behind the scenes stuff, you'd think that they just filmed somewhere that had a mountainous region in it. I guess it just matters on their effects budget, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, for a first shot, Blizzard's never done anything like this before, so I mean, hats off to them. And if nothing else, I don't care what the reviews say, it is now the biggest video game movie. So I don't have to say that Angry Birds is the freaking biggest video game movie anymore.
Still not the most well-received video game movie, but it's the biggest box office-wise.
And you know what? To me, that's good enough. All right, Jacob, so now that we have thoroughly discussed our Warcraft movie experiences, why don't we get into what we're playing?
Alright.
All right, Jacob, what have you been playing since the last time we have spoke?
I played a lot of The Crew.
Really?
Are you familiar with The Crew?
Yes, I am familiar with The Crew.
It is the free games with gold this month, and I had played The Crew before, so I knew kind of what I was getting into, so I tempered my expectations that way, but even then it was like, this game is free, so who cares? But I'm enjoying it a lot. It's got that weird like Ubisoft hook that a lot of their open world games have, where it's like, go on the map to unlock all the stuff, you need to find like a radio tower, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, they make the car version of finding a radio tower, which is finding, like, satellites on the side of the road. So, like, it weirdly gets me in that way of where it's just, like, I want to travel the open world to find these radio towers. But then also, too, like, its storyline is just dumb. Because it's, like, straight up, like, a Fast and Furious, like a B-tier Fast and Furious storyline. Where it's just like your brother gets killed and now you need to infiltrate his old street racing gang and you need to take them down from the inside.
I'm pretty sure that literally is a Fast and Furious thing.
Yeah, essentially. And like, I don't know, you just like, the map size itself is pretty cool. Like a lot of the towns seem like really dead. Like it doesn't feel like an open world. It's like a real open world, mainly because like you can't get out of your car and stuff.
Yeah.
And walk around. So it's got that old like driver like kind of problems with it where like you're in this open world but you're like stuck to this car, and so that kind of always takes me out of the open world immersion of it. But like I don't know, the fact that it's like almost the entire United States, like there's some stuff that's missing for some reason. The city of Boston, Massachusetts is not in the game, which makes no sense because P-Town is in the game.
You think that, yeah, it's kind of one of the bigger capitals in the United States. You know, if it's in the movies, it should be in the games. It's kind of the thing, right?
Even then, I think at the very least, like, you should have every capital of each state in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if you're not going to have a one-to-one recreation, which I never expected them to anyway, but if you're not going to have a one-to-one recreation, at least, like, put all the capitals in. Like, Miami is in Florida, and, like, New York has New York City, because that's the capital, right? Is New York City the capital of New York?
No. No, it is not.
What is the capital of New York? Is it Buffalo? No, it's not Buffalo.
Albany. I should have been able to figure that out faster.
Yeah. Well, all right then. Like, okay, so it doesn't have Albany, but it has New York City. Like, it has, like, big cities in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you should at least have, like, the big cities and the capitals. And if for some reason Boston, Massachusetts is not in there, which is weird to me. But either way, I digress. Like, it's a fun game. I think, like, even then, I've been playing it by myself. Like, the whole point of the game is that you're supposed to crew up with your friends, like, up to 4 friends. And, like, I've never done that. And I've only been playing by myself. And it's been pretty fun. Like, some of the races go a little, like, long. Like, there was one I did the other day that was an hour long. But it was because it was, like, a coast-to-coast race or something like that.
That's really long.
Yeah, it's really long. But, like, a lot of it, unless you're in first place the whole time, it's a very tension-filled kind of race. Because, like, if you just get in first and you get way out in front of everybody, it's like, who gives a shit? You're going to win this race unless you screw up at some point. You know what I mean? But, like, if you can, like, be sort of, like, close together through the whole race, it's like, that's a tense hour. So it's really fun, and I like this game, too. Even if you don't come in first place, like, say you come in second or third, you get, like, whatever upgrade part you're supposed to get. So what it is there's, like, 3 tiers of an upgrade part. The bronze, silver, gold. And say it's, like, a fuel injector. And if you get the gold fuel injector, it will give you the best stats, then so down and so forth. So I just think it's a cool game. Check it out. It's free. The other free game I checked out was XCOM Enemy Unknown. I've only played, like, a couple missions of it, but I like it a lot.
My brother's been playing a bunch of that.
I'm going to report back on what I really think about it next week, because, like, I haven't played it enough to really talk about it.
Yeah.
But I like it a lot so far. Brad, what have you been playing this week?
I've been playing Witcher 1 again. So I re-downloaded it to my Steam, and I realized that I lost a ton of progress as to where I was last. I'm finding out it's about 4 hours worth of progress at this point. And so I've been slowly working my way back up to that, and it's because I've been watching an animation analysis of Witcher 3. And I realized what a good game Witcher 3 was, and I want to get back into playing that, so I want to finish my playthroughs of Witcher 1 and 2 before I get back into that. So I've restarted playing Witcher 1.
So I have a question about the way you went and played these Witcher games. Did you start at 3 and then go, oh, I should play 2? And then when you started 2, you were like, oh, I should play 1? Or did you just go straight from 3 to 1?
No, I went from 3 to 2 to 1. And the only reason I went from 2 to 1 is because when you start 2, it gives you an option to either recreate a Witcher 1 save, which what that'll allow you to do is make choices as to what would have happened in the first game, because the choices of your first game play into the choices of the second.
Right.
So when I saw that option, I'm like, well, now I need to play the first game to figure out what these choices would have been, and I want to know, like, the weight behind these choices I would have been making. So I went back, and now I'm playing 1. And it's kind of cool to see the progression that this game has taken from its first iteration to its third.
Me and you are 2 totally different people when it comes to those choice things like that. Like, when I played Mass Effect for the first time, I started at 2 because everyone says that 2 is the best one. So I was like, I want to skip all the nonsense of 1 and just go to 2. And so at the beginning, they have that, like, interactive comic thing where you choose your choices from the first one. And I was totally fine with that. At no point during that did I go, I should play Mass Effect 1.
Nope. If I have to make a choice about anything I haven't actually experienced, I want to have to experience it first before I make that choice. It's just, I don't know, it's the way I play choice-based games.
Even with Witcher 3, like, I think mainly the thing that has made me not want to go back and play those is, like, the restriction of, like, my hardware. Like, the only one I'd really be able to play with, like, any sort of certainty, like, I mean, I don't know if my PC could run it, I doubt it, like, the first one, I mean, but, like, I could play 2 on 360, and even then I'd still have to make the choices at the beginning, because 1 is not on consoles.
Yeah. And 1's not a terribly great-looking game. Like, it's an older game, and it doesn't, it's more akin to a Final Fantasy than it is to a than what we know as Witcher games, because it's more, you're given a map that you can walk around instead of an open world type deal.
Right.
But it's it's not a terribly great looking game, not very graphically intensive, so it wouldn't be terribly hard to run it, I don't think. I mean, if with the Steam sale coming up, the summer sale, take a peek. If you see, one or two floating out there for a couple bucks, I'd pick them up. I think they're worth the investment.
Yeah, it's not like I've never wanted to go back and play them. It's just like it's been a thing of like I've been prohibited to, so I've never really thought like to go do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And of course, I've been keeping up with my my Doom Ultra Nightmare run. I am pretty much sitting at level 4 right now. It's going to take me a while to get through that.
I played through the demo on the hardest difficulty that they let you play, which isn't Ultra Nightmare. It's whatever the one before Nightmare is.
It's like Ultra Violence or whatever.
Yeah. That game doesn't seem very hard.
Oh, well, on Nightmare, it's not too bad. The difficulty is not what makes Ultra Nightmare very difficult. It's the fact that you cannot die once for any reason, because you will reset the whole thing.
Right, yeah, I guess that would be my problem, because like I died more than usual when I played on Ultra Violence, but I forgot that I was on Ultra Violence until I got to like the outside areas, because I had only died like I died like once I got outside, and the thing was I was just like I only died like 2 more times than I did in my regular playthrough on like normal.
Yeah, and I mean when you think there are 14 levels and you can't die in any of them.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Like I was just thinking like of when you spike up the difficulty, I didn't think it like got that much harder than if you played on normal. But you're probably right with that Ultra Nightmare thing of having to restart the second you die.
Yeah.
I'd get frustrated after like the 3rd time I'd die.
And especially with some of the larger demons, like the Hell Knights really start to hurt the higher difficulties. The floating eyeball guys, Keiko demons, they really, really hurt at the higher difficulties. So it's not a terribly easy thing to do the farther you get into the game. The boss fights especially are really hard.
Also, I found out that you can collect like Doom Guy Funko Pops in that game.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting when I found that.
And they're actually worth something, too. Like, it's not just pointless collectibles. The more you explore, the more, like, you unlock those secrets, which will give you, like, upgrade points for your guns and all that other fun stuff, so... exploring actually has a purpose in that game, which is really cool.
Well, that is cool.
Oh, yeah, that's basically all I've been playing. Some random Xbox games here and there to try to rack up a few more achievements, but, yeah, that's about it. Nope. There goes another motorcycle.
Like, I hate the summer for that very reason, is that everyone either, like, the dumb high school kids are out, so they go street racing, and they have to rev their engines all the time.
And it's always, a Honda with an exhaust 17 times too loud.
Exactly. Or it's guys on motorcycles who feel the need to let's just power through it. Let's rev it up and get really loud with it, because we got straight pipes.
Yeah. But, motorcycles notwithstanding, I think we should get into the news, because we got some good stuff to talk about this week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright, Jacob, so the first story we got here today is talking about Allison Road. Remember the game we talked about got canceled the other day?
Yeah, I was pretty excited for this game.
Yeah, well, we finally got a statement from Team 17 about why it got canceled, and this really doesn't answer much. So here's the statement. After long consideration between Lilith owner Chris Kessler and ourselves, we have reached a mutual agreement to end our collaboration on publishing Allison Road under Team 17's games label. We love the concept and the value Chris's talent highly, but sometime thing that's a complete typo. But
some things.
Yeah, sometime things pan out differently than expected as game development and publishing have so many levels of complexity. The whole team here wish all the best to Chris on his current and future projects, for which, before being a business partner, we are also a fan. So, really, they answered nothing. They just said that they came to a mutual agreement to stop development.
Right.
So, it's kind of sad.
It's weird, too. Like, it's just really weirdly being talked about, you know what I mean? Like, most of the time, when it comes to stuff like this, like, it doesn't get talked about, but at least, like, somebody is blowing the whistle on it. Like, with this, it just seems like they were just like, let's stop working together. And, like, the thing is, like, with that is, like, does Team 17 own the Allison Road IP, or is it still this Lilith people doing it? Like, we don't know that. So, like, why did they need to stop working on Allison Road just because they don't want to work with Team 17 anymore?
Well, I guess that's kind of going to be the answer, right? So if somebody else picks up Team 17, then we can see Allison Road development continue. But if Lilith is the if Lilith is the owner, then we won't see this again. But I mean, I'm getting a weird Kojima Konami vibe from this. Like, everybody's sort of like kind of pushing the question away. Nobody's actually answering it.
It's so weird that, like, this keeps, like, happening to something that's like this, right? Because this whole game started off as, like, the spiritual successor to PT and Silent Hills.
Yeah.
And it's like, it seems like anybody who gets around a game like this, just, like, something happens. Although, who knows? This could all be a huge publicity stunt to get the game, like...
hyped up.
Yeah. Like, imagine they pull, like... Because this seems very Kojima Konami-ish. Imagine.
Yeah. Sort of like the, maybe it wasn't as exciting as people wanted it to be, so, they take it away and people are going to want it more, and then they give it back, and, sales will go up. Maybe. I could see it happening.
Could be a whole big work.
Yes. Speaking of big works, the next Legend of Zelda game called Breath of the Wild is getting some development help from Monolith Soft, the guys who made the Xenoblade games. And this isn't the first time they've worked on a Zelda game, so they've got some experience. They worked on Skyward Sword and A Link Between Worlds, so this will be the third Zelda that they've contributed to.
Get CD Projekt Red in here to help them with this.
Yeah, if you want an open world game, there you go. Although I don't know if I want the amount of sex in a Zelda game as there is in a Witcher 3.
Take out the sex part.
I don't think CD Projekt Red can do that, because I've played Witcher 1 and I see that that's a constant theme through their games.
Get Bethesda to come in and work on this. Get their horribly broken engine on Zelda.
Yeah, so Nintendo's creative head, the big honcho Shigeru Miyamoto, told Game Informer that Nintendo had enlisted the help from the team on its upcoming Wii U and NX game, which was the majority of their appearance at E3 2016. So what capacity Monolith is actually helping is not entirely known, but they are familiar with open world games outside of Zelda games, because they worked on Xenoblade Chronicles X on Wii U, which is a pretty decently sized game, so this is not a new thing for them at all. They are definitely in their comfort zone in terms of the size of the game and the content they're working with, so I'm excited to see what they're going to do. What do you think, Jacob? Do you think this is going to be a good thing for The Legend of Zelda, that they're getting Monolith to help them out here?
I think it'll help them along, get it done. Like, I don't think this is, like... Because it seems so late in development from the fact that it's, like... This is launching, you gotta assume in March, because that's when they said, like...
Yeah, this is coming out in March.
Yeah. So, like, I doubt they're doing anything that's that... Unless they've been working on it for a while, and this is just the first time it's been announced, like, I doubt they're doing anything that, like, extensive on it. Like, you could only assume that maybe it's just like hey, we're bringing in some help to finish this along. Let's bring in these guys that know open world games. Just so that way, we have more people in the room who know what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's always, you never want to do something entirely in-house, in my opinion, because you need a fresh set of eyes looking at things, just because it helps you get a better perspective.
It's the same reason why 45 studios work on Ubisoft games.
Yeah. But, speaking of large teams and large games, Fallout 4, Bethesda, that whole console mod stuff, well, people are now not very happy about it, because now Fallout 4 console mod support will now require a Steam-linked account. So, uploading a Fallout 4 mod to Bethesda.net now requires a Steam-linked account with Bethesda, an extra step meant to thwart the unauthorized uploading of PC modders' work for use on consoles. So this came out in a latest title update for Fallout 4 just this past week. And so when mod support first came to consoles at the end of May, many PC modders found their work had been lifted from non-official third-party hosting sites such as Nexus Mods and then uploaded to Bethesda.net for use on Xbox One. Bethesda created a channel through which mod creators could file complaints under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DCMA, or DMCA, to have the content removed. So essentially what happened was the most popular, the biggest mods for Fallout had been hosted for years on non-Bethesda sites. So then console players took those PC mods, uploaded them to Bethesda.net so they could use them on Xbox One. And then PC users accused the console players of theft. Console players complained that PC modders were being lazy or selfish by not sharing their work, and this was Bethesda's solution. They were never intended to have PC mods on consoles. It was supposed to be a separate environment, console users being the crafty, users that they are, decided to work around that, and Bethesda was not happy. So, unfortunately, this is the outcome.
I think Bethesda's kind of fully in the right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I don't blame them at all.
Like, I feel like this is going to be the kind of thing that where people are like, oh, Bethesda, they're being like the Nazis of the mod community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like,
or the PC gamers, complaining of theft. When no, it really is. It is theft. They made that content.
Yeah.
And it's being, it's maybe if you find a way to accredit them or something, you find a way to work around it. Maybe if PC and consoles users can come to an agreement as to what content's allowed and what isn't. See if we can do that. But if not, then it's sort of the way it has to be.
The thing with this that I wonder is because I was surprised at how full the mod page was for the console version, at least, of Fallout.
Yeah. And
so I'm curious, now that if, say, these ones are getting taken down, or if it was people just stealing them to throw them on the console store, I wonder, what that mod store looks like now.
Yeah, you'll see the difference as to how many of them really were content created for consoles or otherwise.
Yeah. But,
I don't know. It's a whole big legal mumbo-jumbo that, is unfortunately not my area of expertise. Speaking of legal mumbo-jumbo, however, No Man's Sky has been in a secret, stupid legal battle. That's a quote from them, actually, with the guys from... I wish I could remember their name.
Hello Games.
Yes, Hello Games. For 3 years now, they've been in a legal battle over the word Sky. And this is because they've been having to fight with a company called Sky, because they own the word Sky.
I think...
And it's a British telecom company.
I mean, I know you're saying it for, other people, but, I've heard of Sky before, mainly because, if you look at, clips on YouTube sometimes, it has, the Sky logo in the corner. I've been like, what the hell is Sky? But it's, some British channel, right?
Yeah.
It's, it's kind of like their HBO or something like that out there. Because I think Sky shows Game of Thrones, but anyway... I think it's weird that Sky owns, the trademark to the word Sky for, every sort of medium. I could see owning it for, TV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But why do you own the thing
you own the word.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right to me.
My brother, akined it to, them trying to trademark the word saga, when King had that whole development.
Or candy is an even better example.
Yeah.
They tried to trademark the word candy for any use in any commercial use, which is insane to me. You can't trade. That'd be like trying to trademark the word oxygen or breath. You know what I mean?
It's ridiculous, and they've been in this battle for 3 years. And this is not a small company. This is the company that had forced Microsoft to change their name of the SkyDrive to what you now know as the OneDrive. So they have been fighting this thing with all sorts of companies for a long time, and they're not known to back down. So it's great that finally they have decided to let No Man's Sky be No Man's Sky. And there is some speculation that this is what caused the last minute delay, was that the legal battle was not going to be settled in time for the game to ship, so they couldn't legally ship the game called No Man's Sky before the battle was settled.
I mean, that could very well be true, but even then, that's a shitty situation. Imagine if they would have had to change the title of this game.
No Man's Space?
Yeah, or something like that. That would be so weird if, for this whole time, for, 3 years that we've known about this, right? It's come out and it's been, No Man's Sky. And then all of a sudden, the last month, right before it comes out, it becomes, No Man's Space or, The Traveler or something, generic like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's just because we've known about this game for so long, and, No Man's Sky is... when you hear that name, you see that picture, that thumbnail of what they've shown since the game has been announced. That is just... We think of it as No Man's Sky, and to change the name so close to when the game would release would, honestly, I think be a really strange thing, so...
It'd be really confusing too for anybody outside of the industry.
Yeah, who doesn't keep up with games? They'd be like, "Hey, where's that No Man's Sky game? I never heard anything from that again." Well, yeah. It's now called Spaceman Explorer. I don't know if you've heard.
It's been out for 4 years now.
Yeah. But that was really all there was to that one. Although Sean Murray, being the great guy he is, did make a joke about it and said, on the plus side, perhaps this is the real reason Skynet never happened. So, being the particular type of guy he is. I feel bad for him, dude. He's if you watch like the development videos from when this game was first announced to like the last few ones, he's losing his mind. Like his hair's gone all like crazy. He's got a giant beard now.
He's definitely like, you can tell he's gonna take a long vacation once this game launches.
Yeah, he's gonna collapse and he's gonna fall into a coma for like 2 months just to work up all the rest that he's been losing.
I mean, he picked a big video game project. I mean,
yeah, I follow him on Twitter, and
I did too.
There was a tweet about the power went out or whatever, and he's like, the power went out, but we have laptops. Nothing will stop development of this game. And I have never seen a man so dedicated to a project as this particular individual.
He seems like a great guy. Like, he seems like, even like outside of just the game that he's making, like he seems to be a cool dude. Like, I've seen him in interviews and stuff, and he just like, I don't know, he always seems like so shy all the time.
He feels like a game developer and not like a PR person, right? Like that. I think that's why people like him so much, is they feel like they're getting the actual dude, not just some dude in a suit whose job it is to make the game look as good as it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of being very passionate about your games, however, the guy from Platinum Games, Hideki Kamiya, is currently the guy who's currently working on Scalebound that we saw at E3, wants to make a return to Bayonetta, because they'd had an interview with him at E3, and actually this particular person who wrote this Polygon article had asked him if he'd consider making a Bayonetta 3 once Scalebound is released, and Kamiya said this: "To answer your question straightly, yes. It's actually something I've been thinking a lot about. We've talked a lot about it internally at the company, and I've written some outlines for what the game would be, and I feel really confident it would be cool if we got the chance to make it. Right now we're looking at opportunities. If that opportunity ever came up to make Bayonetta 3, that would be really, really cool." So it seems that he wants to make one. They have a rough outline of what the game would be like, and he seems to want to really do it because he seems to be really passionate about this franchise, and that's cool to see.
Let me say something about Bayonetta and why I don't think that a third one would happen, or why I think maybe a third one shouldn't happen. Number one, like, the first one came out and it did well critically, but like its sales weren't there. But it has like a passionate fan base, right?
Yeah.
Then they made a sequel and it came out on Wii U and sold even like worse than the first one. But you could attribute that to, hey, this is on Wii U.
Yeah.
So maybe
it's more of a failure by association type deal.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess I can't fault it for that, but like, Platinum Games is working on like 45 games right now. Like, you guys need to slow down. Like, this year, I think they've released like something like 10 games or something like that. Like, they did like that Ninja Turtles game. They did Bayonetta 2 come out this year? Or was that last year?
2014.
Oh, so it's 2 years ago. Well, then they did that Transformers one like last year, and they're working on like 4 other games that are coming out later this year. And like, they're working on Scalebound and stuff. Like, they just need to like calm down, finish what the hell you're working on.
Yeah. One step at a time, guys.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's actually, I'm looking at the games list now. They haven't really developed that many. Now that I'm looking at it, it was Bayonetta 2 in 2014, The Legend of Korra in 2014. Only one game in 2015, which is Transformers Devastation, and they have 3 games slated for 2016. The Star Fox Zero, the Star Fox Zero Guard for the Wii U, and then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, Mutants in Manhattan.
But then, too, like, I don't know if it has that list of games that are in development for them, but they have, like, some, like, Dark Souls-y type game they're working on. They have Nier 2, which is, like, a really old, like, franchise game. And then they have Scalebound.
Nier Automata? Is that what it's called? Because I'm looking at that now.
That might have been like the first one, or that might be the second one. I don't know.
It's the one coming out in 2017. So
then, yeah, that's the sequel. But like, even too, like, they were working on Star Fox while they're working on Scalebound or on Ninja Turtles, right? Like, there's no way like they finished Star Fox and then like in 2 months made a Ninja Turtles game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're juggling a lot of balls. I think whether or not this Bayonetta 3 happens is going to hinge entirely on the success of the NX. I think if the NX does very well, they're going to want to get as many titles on that as they can, and I think Bayonetta 3 will definitely be a good seller for them, because Bayonetta is one of those things that, it's weird. All the franchises people feel are like great and really successful almost never sell well.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing of like the audience is more vocal than the naysayers, and when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like especially like sales. Like so, like last week, remember how I talked about how they were doing the remake of Bulletstorm and how I really like Bulletstorm.
Yeah.
And I like Bulletstorm did not sell that well, right? Like it did all right numbers, but like for EA and like Epic Games, it did not do good numbers. So like but the fan base of that game is very loud and vocal about how great it is, you know what I mean? So it tends to drown out this game didn't sell well.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the kind of drowning out they need if they want to get a third Bayonetta on the NX, which I think is a reasonable possibility depending on the sales. But we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of waiting and seeing, there is no more waiting and seeing because Muddy Number 9 is out. Came out June 21st, the day we're recording this. Yes. And it's not doing well in any sense of the word. So it got a 5.6 from IGN, a 57 from Metacritic, and a 6.5 from Destructoid. So it's not doing well across the board. But on the plus side, it has a documentary.
Oh boy.
So if you want to take a look at that, so it's sort of sad because right here in the article it says director Keiji Inafune can't wait to see the faces of the players once they start playing. Unfortunately, I don't think those faces are going to be exactly what he was hoping for.
No.
Yeah, so the game developer has a video on the Kickstarter page over the weekend as it geared up for its launch, and it promised an early look at Muddy Number 9's development before any of the, I imagine, big problems came about. But if you want to take a look at that, I will give you guys a release or a link to the video so you can take a peek at what Inafune has to say about Muddy Number 9. And until then, if you backed it and you're playing it, let us know how it is. Is it really as bad as people are saying it? Because I'm seeing some people defending it, saying it's not the best 2D platform I've ever played, but it's not as bad as people are making it seem. And I've heard others say it's the worst thing to come out in the last decade. So where in that dartboard do you, the player, feel? I want to know.
I feel bad for like Inafune in this situation because like you can tell like he just wanted to make like another Mega Man game, but he didn't have like the resources to make a game of that like size or whatever.
Yeah, I mean he got $4 million out of the Kickstarter for development of this game, and for a 2D platformer, that's a sizable chunk of money. But I think the problem fell where they got this game on almost literally every platform that can play a video game.
Yeah.
And that's expensive. So that's probably where a large portion of their budget went, was every time they ported it to a new platform, I guarantee you a dozen more bugs popped up.
It should have maybe done it. It should have been like a staggered release sort of thing. Like maybe like, you know, do PS4 and Xbox One now, then do PC, then do Wii U, then, you know, so on and so forth. Like it should have maybe been a staggered release. Like it just seems like they bit off a little more than they could chew.
Yeah.
With this,
and
that's not their fault. It's like they thought that their Kickstarter was going to do a certain amount of numbers, and they had these stretch goals that it just kept hitting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's sort of the thing where like, all right, guys, like at some point it's too much for the team to handle. I like Star Citizen is sort of having that same problem. Like every time they put up a stretch goal, they hit a new one, and this game is never going to come out because they keep having to meet these new stretch goals. But you know. And even coming out with this Muddy Number 9 game, the release did not go well. Like, backers aren't receiving their correct the DLC keys. Like, they're getting 2 keys for the Retro DLC, but they're not getting any keys for the Ray DLC. So, like, the whole release has just been a whole big cluster. Which
seems like
really sad.
Yeah. It sucks, too, because I love Mega Man. And I'd love to have a new Mega Man game. But this just doesn't look like that kind of game to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I got one more story here, and this one's kind of a quick one. I don't want to go too much into this, but it's about this G2A scandal that's going on. And for those of you who don't know...
Scandalous.
Yeah, so G2A is a third-party seller of video game keys. Very similar to how Amazon sells things, right? So like when you purchase things from Amazon, you aren't actually purchasing them from Amazon, but Amazon is sort of being the middleman in that transaction. Well, G2 is sort of the same thing, but the problem with this is G2A is considered a gray market business, and this scandal is sort of the biggest infraction, or the biggest pointer to that so far as to sort of what happened. So what happened here is Tiny Build, the guys who made Speedrunners, Punch Club, Party Hard, those guys, they set up their own personal store recently. But that store ended up collapsing on itself because they were hit with thousands and thousands of chargebacks from credit cards. And shortly after this, when the store had finally had to, close down, G2A became flooded with these tiny build game codes, and which then G2A sold for about $200,000. If they had been sold for retail, because G2A severely undercuts retail prices, in retail these keys would have sold for about $450,000. So it's a largeable chunk of change.
Right.
And so to explain quickly what happened, G2A purchased these keys from third-party sellers who had bought them with stolen credit cards, which is, for the most part, the majority of how G2A gets their keys, or at least allegedly. And when that happened, the chargebacks happened from these stolen credit cards on Tiny Build's side because that's where the keys were purchased. Tiny Build then asked for an explanation from G2A as to how they got their keys, to which they got this reply. So I'll read this to you because I think this is very interesting. So this is word for word what they say. So the issue you have pointed to is related to keys you have already sold. They are your partners that have sold keys on G2A, which they purchased directly from you. If anything, this should give you an idea on the reach that G2A has. Instead of your partners selling here, you could do that directly. Let me break here. They had previously offered Tiny Build an opportunity to work with G2A professionally if they wanted to. Tiny Build denied them, and then this was the outcome. I can tell you that this is back quoting them. I can tell you that no compensation will be given. If you suspect that these codes were all chargebacks, aka fraud/stolen credit card purchases, I would be happy to look into that. However, I will say this requires Tiny Build to work with G2A. Both in that you need to revoke the keys you will be claiming as stolen from the players who now own them and supply myself with the codes you suspect being a part of this. We will check to see if that is the case, but I doubt that codes with such large numbers would be that way. Honestly, I think you will be surprised that it is not fraud, but your resale partners doing what they do best, selling keys. They just happen to be selling them on G2A. It is also worth pointing out that we do not take a share of these prices. Our parts comes from the kickback our payment providers. So, that's sort of their statement there. And if it sucks, and this sort of kind of annoys me a little bit, because Tiny Build's sort of screwed, right? Because they obviously don't want to work with G2A because they know the kind of company that they are. So G2A is saying, if you want our help, you have to work with us. And they can't do it independently because the amount of time it would take to go through each individual key, check with that person and that person's bank to see if it was purchased with a stolen credit card, would take an inhumane amount of time.
Right.
And they can't pull out every single key because some of those keys would have been purchased legitimately. And Ubisoft did the same thing a while back and got a huge backlash for it. So they're in a lose-lose situation here. And if anything, I only put this story in here to say I don't personally trust G2A, and I don't support this sort of business. So I don't know about you, Jacob, but this story kind of really kind of gets under my skin in terms of the video game industry news.
I think like that whole like everything in context for it, like it comes out and it's like a shitty thing. Like most of the time you see like these kind of websites, like these gray market websites, and you think like, oh, maybe they just got like a surplus of keys from somebody, but like this whole thing of like credit card fraud was involved, and then the keys were sold to them, and then
I just think it's too coincidental, right? Like Tiny Build says, listen, we don't want to work with you guys, we're sorry, but we're gonna do this on our own. We'll set up our own shop, and then afterwards they get hit with thousands of credit card chargebacks. And then suddenly G2A has the keys anyway. Like, that's too coincidental to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm being conspiracy, theorists, and, G2A really is a reputable company. But no, I don't trust it. Too coincidental, and I don't believe in coincidences.
Exactly. Yeah, it's odd.
But that was really all I wanted to say about that. You, the reader, or you, the listener, not the reader, but can make your own decisions as to whether or not this was credit card fraud or just a simple miscommunication. But with that, Jacob, that is the end of the news.
That's the end of the news.
That's all I got for you. If that wasn't enough, I'm sorry. Come back Thursday or Friday. We'll have more. But until then, you'll have to settle for the QuickTime question.
Oh.
Alright, Jacob, welcome to the QuickTime question. For those of you who are new to the segment, let me explain how the game works. I'm going to ask you a piece of video game trivia, and it could be in any form that I choose. It could be a true or false question, it could be a little quiz, or it could be a multiple choice question. I like to change it up week to week to keep you from getting too comfortable. However, I have a slightly new format for you this week, Jacob. I decided to change it up a little bit.
I'm excited to see.
Yeah, so this week it's going to be a true or false question, but it's not going to be just one. I decided that I think it was ending a little too quickly, right? I realized that you weren't winning a lot of these QuickTime questions, and I wanted to give you another shot. So this week, I'm going to do multiple true or false questions. I have 5 for you here, so I'll give you a best of 5.
All right.
I think I'm going to settle on best of 3 for future episodes, but because this is the first time, and I found a lot of really good questions for this, I decided to go with 5.
All right.
So you ready, Jacob?
Yep.
Alright, so these questions are going to be all from Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
All right.
So, ready? Here's the first question. True or false? There are actually 2 official soundtracks to the game. One which features longer musical tracks, but some of the music is missing. Another which has all of the music, but the tracks are noticeably shorter because of this.
So, like, this is like an official, like, CD version of the soundtrack or something like that?
No, versions of the game with different soundtracks.
Oh, okay. That seems like something that would be true of that generation of games, like some, like, weird glitches like that.
You locking in
like,
true?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna lock in true.
Okay, so for the first one, Jacob, you are correct. That is true. There are 2 soundtracks to the Nintendo 64 version of of Ocarina of Time. One of them is the American soundtrack, which has the longer musical soundtracks. The other one is the Japanese version, which has all of the music, but shorter intervals. Right, so you got 1 so far. Here's number 2. True or false? The game runs on a modified version of the Super Mario 64 game engine.
That's true.
That is true. You got that one pretty quickly. I was expecting a little more thought behind that one.
I knew that one from, like, because, you know, you used to watch, like, all those, like, fact videos or whatever.
Alright, you only need 1 more to technically win for this week, Jacob, so let's see how you do. Number 3. One of the original game's taglines was, "Doust thou get the girl or play like one?"
That can't be, like, no, that can't be true. That's false.
Locking in false?
Yeah.
Alright, Jacob. Unfortunately, that was true. That was the...
Are you serious?
That was one of the original taglines for the game. However, it was removed later due to its sexist humor.
That's exactly. I was like, I wouldn't think Nintendo would do this. Like, that's something like every other company in the 90s would do, but, like, this isn't a,
This was Nintendo. They give us the Marios. They wouldn't do such a thing.
Exactly.
But no, it was true. That was one of the original taglines for Ocarina of Time. Alright, you got 2 more chances. Here's number 4. True or false, the musical chant you hear in the Fire Temple in the original Nintendo 64 version was only in the original version of that game.
That's true, because it was removed because it sounded like an Islamic thing, wasn't it?
True, but slightly off of the reasoning. It was removed for later versions of the game because it was considered offensive to Muslims, as it includes a call to prayer over music, and it's considered a sin to play music over a call to prayer in Islam.
Right.
So, you technically win this week, Jacob, but I got 1 more question for you. See if you can go above and beyond the Call to Duty.
Okay.
Ready? True or false? This one's a pretty easy one. I think you got this one. Malon's brooch is a Bowser head.
I'm trying to think back. True?
That sounded unsure. You sure? You locking that in?
I don't know if you're trying to trick me right now into saying false, and then you're like, well, Jacob, you shouldn't have second-guessed yourself, because it's... I think I'm going to go with true, because I think, isn't it like a Bowser skull or something like that?
Alright, you locking in true?
Yeah.
Alright, you're correct, Jacob. It's a Bowser, it's a golden Bowser head.
These are all true. I feel like you need to change it up once in a while, just to make it...
Yeah, I decided to make them all true, just to make you doubt yourself. I figured you'd think there's no way I would make 5 true questions in the same show. One of them had to be false.
You're an evil son of a bitch.
You know that? I try to trip you up wherever I can, Jacob. If it's not
you try to make me look the fool, like I always say.
Yes, but unfortunately, you made me look the fool here, and you did win. You got 4 out of 5. You went above what you needed to do. Next week, I'll try to trip you up a little harder, but there'll only be 3 questions. I'm not doing 5 questions every week. That'd take forever.
Yeah, I only didn't think that one with, like, the tagline was true, because I was just like, this doesn't make sense for a Nintendo.
Yeah. But, congratulations, Jacob. You win absolutely nothing. But, on the bright side, I get to go into the spiel. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at completewithdlc@gmail.com. It's going to be the best place to send all your complaints, comments, concerns, or just want to have a conversation with us. Head over there and check it out. If you want one of us to respond to you specifically, please put our name in either the subject line or the body of the email, directing it at one of us, and I'll make sure the correct person answers you. However, if you don't want to talk to us through email and you just want to follow the show, head over to Twitter. We are Complete with DLC on Twitter as well. So Jacob puts all the information up about new shows, whether or not we're live streaming any particular episode, whenever an episode gets put up to YouTube, whenever one of the YouTube series is being continued, so on and so forth, that kind of thing. Twitter's the place you're going to want to go. If you just want to get new episodes of the podcast, then head over to wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or Google Play, or any of the affiliates thereof. And once you're there, please use whatever review software they give you, whether it be thumbs, arrows, smiley faces, or stars. We like to hear what you guys are thinking about the show. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Let us know, and we will continuously try to improve. We take all the feedback we get to heart, so we appreciate any and all comments you have for us. But if you want to talk to Jacob specifically, Jacob, where can they do that?
You can do that on any sort of social media at itsjaygriff, ITSJAYGRIFF. I'm probably most active on Twitter, so if you want to talk to me over there, you can do so. I'm a pretty open guy. Brad, if they want to get in touch with you, where can they do so?
If you want to get in touch with me, you're going to want to head over to Twitter as well. I forgot what the website was called for a second. I'm Kalgne on Twitter, KALGNE. However, if you want to have a more active discussion with me, or you don't want to use Twitter, then head over to Battle.net. It's Blizzard's little interactive hub for their games, completely free, and you can play some of their free games while you're chatting with me. You want to play some Heroes or some Hearthstone? You want to type in Brad #1261 in the friend code, and yes, you need to put the little hashtag in there. And once you send me a friend request, please let me know where you heard the friend code, whether it be a podcast episode, a YouTube video, or wherever, so I can sort of keep a physical note as to where these friend requests are coming from, and I can categorize you appropriately and not accidentally delete you. If you want to watch the show live, please head over to twitch.tv/completewithdlc. We stream at approximately 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, not every episode is live streamed. Sometimes there's some technical difficulties, or one of us has a bad hair day and doesn't want to stream. Regardless, check out Twitter for whether or not any particular episode would be live streamed. All episodes are backed up to YouTube. Check the description of the episode if you want to find our YouTube channel, because we don't have a custom URL. I apologize. But check out the description for the link. I believe that is everything, Jacob.
That is everything.
Are we done? Can I go home?
Yep, you can go home, even though you already are home.
You finally let me out of this cell.
This has been Complete with DLC. I'm Jacob Griffin.
I'm held against my will.
And thank you for listening.